counting down the best James Bond pre-title sequences. At number 18, it's the groundbreaking Die Another Day.
Well, not much happens in this Die Another Day pre-title sequence, so
pretty traditional start, and you kind of think how amazing that they've not done this before. Surfers emerging from the surf. Is that how you use a surf as a noun? Is that right?
Yeah. You would have to be one of the, if not the best surfer in the world or something to be able to.
Yeah.
But we were kind of chatting that over. I think that's what we do want, isn't it? From Bond, we want him to be
and there's people doing it.
So it's a real stunt.
Yeah.
So if it's a real stunt, James Bond can do it. I've got no problem if it's a real stunt, mate.
Obviously, they arrive on the beach, and there's him and two other agents who disappear quite quickly.
Yeah, you just get a bit confusing there. But it is like we said on the review, it ends up being a bit like Action Man, isn't it? The surfboard opens up, and then there's lots of which is quite nice, a bit of a throwback. But it is there's a lot to keep track of in this pre-title sequence. I think that's probably my only. Not necessarily criticism, but it is. There's a lot, like you say. There's a lot going on. There's lots of characters being introduced. It isn't a one-off. We are going to revisit this. These characters and the relationships, and it does have an influence on still doing the right things, but trying to do something more with that. We don't have to have. It doesn't have to. That story doesn't have to end as soon as the title start and the song starts. We can continue it through the music and the titles, which is quite interesting. North South Korea, landmines, a whole sort of plot, the whole kind of story about the diamonds, General Colonel Moon, and then the hovercraft fight. It's all like classic Bond kind of stuff, and I really do think that this is where the film itself it's the strongest stuff in that film. I think because it is the story seems you are being driven somewhere, and you're being introduced to things. It is quite a long sequence, but I think there's a lot to pack in that, and I always really liked it, and I'm always surprised just how good the action is. I don't think we're in North Korea here or South Korea. Looks like that tree line looks very familiar, but I really like it, and it's a nice change again. Like Brosnan just is doing what Brosnan does best, and there is probably with this opening. Actually, quite similar to The World Is Not Enough. There is a sense of panic with him. That there are moments where he's like, "I don't know how I'm going to get out of this."
Yeah,
and that again is part of the Bond formula. You paint him into a corner, and then he does his Bond thing, and he does that. And it has, like I say, the action is great, and I think Vic Armstrong did a really great job with that.
Colonel Moon, as well as his father, General Moon, because the general's higher, older than her.
It's pathetic. You British still believe you have the right to police the world. But you will not live to see the day. All Korea is ruled by the North.
And you and I have something in common. 누구야? 여보라 뭐야? 장군님.
And Zhao. You're introduced to Zhao as well. So there's quite a lot. And also you're introduced to the idea of Bond being betrayed, which, is quite a big thing throughout the film. So there is a lot packed in here. It does feel relatively sort of grounded and real. This, grounded, maybe that's the wrong word, but physical, and you can touch it and stuff. I do like it, and I think it's exciting. I think there's good action. I think probably a bit long, maybe a bit long for my.
It's great that they've tried to take it to a different part of the world that's got a different look. It's really good action. There's loads of it. There's explosions. There's guns. There's panic explosion, panic fire, and
a hovercraft chase as well is pretty distinctive. We've not had that
exactly.
before.
This is trying to break new ground. It is trying to be fairly inventive and do new things and put Bond in a new situation. So if he's in a position you've never seen him in before, you know far less how he's going to get out of there.
The first thing you want from a Bond film is things that haven't been done before, and you've got to surf in the wave. And then you've got a hovercraft chase. And I think that both of them are done well. There's some ropey CGI at times in the background and some ropey filtering and stuff. But they're done real enough to the point that you feel it's it's happening. My issue with this pre-title sequence is only my main issue with the film these days, and it's the dialogue. Is that you just get your whips, and they don't stop, and they keep coming, and they're relentless, and that's what takes it out of you. Vic Armstrong does a phenomenal job with the act in this sequence, but it's the most horrific pre-title sequence. It's the first time James Bond's caught and tortured.
Yeah,
but I think that doesn't carry the weight because of the dialogue that's come. It should absolutely carry massive weight. But this is actually, on paper, the most horrific. This is Bond being caught in North Korea, and then we see the torture. Yeah, actually, I quite like the idea of the torture being entwined in the titles. I actually like that idea.
Yeah.
So I think the ideas in this are great, and I think the action's great. I mean, the direction at times isn't brilliant, especially, and I think some of the CGI stuff. But the thing that lets it down, or people don't take it seriously, is the dialogue. I stand by it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like you say, there's a lot of firsts in this, in terms of what they do with the character. And I think it's the first time you see sort of the genesis of the head with Zhao, with the fact that you see the diamond explosions, and you've never had that before, because any kind of physical deformity, I think, from most henchmen is already in place by the time Bond meets him. So very rarely is it because of something he's kind of actually been responsible for. When it's working, it works really well. What
follows eventually, the longer we get into it, doesn't live up to it, certainly in terms of those practical effects, those practical, like I say, slightly more realistic and physical stuff, because and the colors change, and obviously you want those things to an extent, but you don't want to lose the sense that it's real, and it does become more fantastical. This isn't particularly fantastical, if at all. I'm trying to remember it now. Some of the stupid lines that we get in the pre-title sequence.
You are late.
Yeah.
I am Zhao. You are late.
Obviously Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
It's not bad.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's just
in the context,
it's just relentless.
Of it.
Overall, I do think this pre-title sequence is one of the strong points.
It's the execution. And the problem that I've always had with the film is it feels like such a lazy first draft, where it's like that. Like every piece of dialogue feels like a placeholder. We'll think of something better when we come round to it.
It's very much that time of filmmaking, and it's that early noughties interpretation of James Bond, from the music to the editing. It's very much that's going on at the moment.